University mostly follows Mike, who after taking a field trip to the scare floor as a kid and sneaking into a child's room to watch a professional scarer at work, decides to devote his life to becoming a scarer himself. He enrolls in MU in hopes of fulfilling his dream, but hits a snag when he meets James Sullivan, or Sully, of course, an over-arrogant monster with a lot of natural talent, but no drive to actually study or improve on his natural ability. A rivalry between the two of them threatened both of their future careers until their only chance of becoming scarers is to join a team of misfits in Uzma Kappa and win a scare competition to prove themselves to the dean. So, despite what I'm about to say, let's talk about things in Monster University that worked. First of all, it's still a lot better quality than a lot of animated films out there. The sense of humor is good, the writing's good. I liked a lot of the new characters. The characters from Uzma Kappa, particularly, were really quirky and fun and interesting. They were all really likable, and characters like the Dean as well, she was pretty likable. Some of the challenges in the scare competition, those were pretty interesting and led to some sort of creative ways of getting through them and how the team sort of made out. And I really liked the moment when Mike and Sully went to the real world. That was pretty cool. That scare was pretty cool. That was very well done. So let's talk about the downsides. This movie is utterly predictable, and it's utterly predictable because it follows a series of cliches that have been done a million times before. This movie is a melding between college movie cliches as well as underdog movie cliches. Because of this, I found myself watching and not wondering what was going to happen next, but when they were going to implement the things I knew were going to happen. And this is the key reason why MU is not as good as the majority of Pixar films. It already starts with a disadvantage by being a prequel. There are really no surprises here. We know that Mike and Sully will eventually be friends. We know that Mike will not be a scarer. The only chance a prequel like this has is if it shows us something we were curious about in the first movie. And personally, I was never really all that curious about Mike and Sully's college days. This movie really didn't need to exist, but the fact that it really doesn't do much to distance itself from the typical underdog and college cliches does not help it. On top of that, even though I liked some of the side characters, I actually didn't care for the main characters themselves, which is a little bit disappointing considering I liked both of them quite a bit in the original movie. Sully was probably my favorite character next to Boo, and I liked Mike as well. They had very distinct personalities and they worked well off of each other. In this movie, even their personalities fall into cliches. Mike is a little better. Sully's just an arrogant asshole. Like, he was a really nice guy in the first film, and it made him very, very likable. In this movie, he's really just this arrogant jock who you know is eventually going to learn his lesson, but there's really not much else to him apart from that. Aside from that, the movie itself, well, last year I said that Brave didn't take a lot of risks. If Brave didn't take risks, then Monster University really didn't take risks, because it relies on very common tropes that film companies and movies have used a million times before. We've seen the college movie stuff in things like Animal House and other common college films. We've seen the underdog stuff in sports movies and all kinds of different things. We've seen both of these and know how both of them turn out. And because of that, there's really nothing that comes as a surprise in this movie. There's nothing that really throws us for a loop. Some of the writing is good and some of the places they go could be interesting, but they don't really take that extra step to make it something different. It's definitely not as good as Monsters, Inc. It's not even as good as Brave. It stands ahead of other films released this year, but in a year with better competition, this film would fade from memory pretty fast. And it makes me worry about Pixar's future, as this will be the third film in a row that has not met the company's previous standards.